Revolution 4th axis setup for Redline and real-time control systems. After removing your Revolution 4th axis from its shipping boxes, the first thing that we're going to do is go over our optional riser block installation. These risers are not required but will allow you to machine larger diameter materials. The first thing we'll do is flip the axis over so it's sitting on its top, and we'll remove the 4 bolts holding the tailstock to the gantry that slides along the tubes. We can lift that up and the riser block will sit directly between the tailstock head and the gantry system that it slides on. This riser block is keyed on the top and bottom to make it easy to align. Then we'll use the included hardware with the riser block to secure that back in place. We'll repeat the same process on the chuck head side of the rotary axis, starting by removing the 4 screws, then placing the larger riser block between the chuck head and the gantry that it sits on. We'll use the included hardware that comes with this larger riser block and secure that in place as well. Next, we'll cover the optional QCW mounting hardware. Here we're using the Foreman version. Here we have a bracket, a knob, a spacer, our QCW locating shaft, and some bolts. We're going to use the bracket that will mount to the QCW as a riser for now, just to make it easier to install our spacer. Here we're using the wider of the 2 spacers that are included, and this will mount directly to the front of the rotary axis. We use the 2 included bolts and secure that in place before we install our QCW locating shaft by threading that in, then following that up with a crescent wrench to secure it. With that hardware attached to our rotary axis, we can now remove the bracket that we used as a spacer and install this on the front tube of our QCW. We'll remove the second bolt from the far left, then we will place that through the bracket and secure that back to our QCW tube. On the right side, we'll move to our tailstock end, and we have that same hardware with the only piece being different, the bracket itself. The bracket will fit on the farthest outside bolt. Again, we're going to use that bracket as a riser to make it easier to install this other hardware, starting with our smaller spacer, which will also align with the end of our rotary. We'll use the 2 included screws and secure those in place before we move on to the locating shaft. Again, we're going to thread our locating shaft directly into that spacer and follow that up with a crescent wrench to make sure it is secure. With our locating shaft secure, we can pull our bracket out from underneath the rotary, and we'll move to installing that on our QCW. This time we'll use the farthest outside bolt on the right side, place that bolt back through our bracket, and we will secure this to our front tube of our QCW. With our hardware and our brackets now installed, we can slide our locating shafts into the brackets that are mounted to the QCW. The locating shafts will slide into the tapered mounting brackets, and we'll secure those in place with our hand screws. If you didn't order the QCW mounting kit, you can use a V-bit to draw a line across the wasteboard to align our rotary axis to. Here we have a 60-degree V-bit loaded into our spindle, and we're going to manually lower this down so it barely touches the wasteboard, and we will jog it across the axis so that we leave a line to index our rotary with. Here we've lowered our Z and we're jogging this directly from left to right on our wasteboard, leaving an indexing line to align our rotary to. You can also do this in the Y-axis direction, depending on how you have your rotary oriented. Next, we will align our rotary on the left and right sides with the line that we've just created, making sure that everything is perfectly square to our machine. With that squared to our machine, we can now mark the mounting holes on the brackets on the left and right side of our rotary axis so that we can drill a few holes and insert some threaded inserts. Here you can use a 6mm or a 1/4 inch drill bit to drill the holes for our threaded inserts, then we will secure them to the wasteboard with a 4mm hex key. We'll repeat this process on the right side as well, again using a 6mm or 1/4 inch drill bit and securing the threaded inserts with a 4mm hex key. With all 4 of our threaded inserts in place, we can now slide the rotary back on top of those, aligning them and securing them with the included screws with the threaded insert kit. We'll repeat this process on the chuck head end of the rotary, And once all 4 screws are in place, we can now change our focus to our wiring. Because the rotary axis is plug and play, all you'll need to do is plug in the wire to the motion controller. Here we're plugging in our 8-pin connector to our A axis, followed by our 3-pin connector for the homing sensor. After those are connected, we can power on our machine and we'll do a little bit of configuring. Once the display loads, we can go to our hamburger menu and click Config. Then we will go to our defaults page and load the Revolution Elite defaults. Once those are loaded, it will say defaults loaded successfully. We'll press OK. Then we will go to our motor driver page under the General tab. Here we'll navigate to the A axis and you can see that the rotary axis is enabled and reversed. With our rotary axis enabled, we can now jog it forwards and backwards using the continuous or distance modes. We can also home our rotary using the inductive sensor that's mounted to the side of it. Here we're testing to make sure that works, and we're all good there. Now we can move on to loading some material into our chuck head using the chuck key that is included. There are 2 sets of jaws, inward and outward facing, included with your rotary axis. To adjust the tailstock, we'll loosen the 2 knobs that sit above the tubes, and we can slide it along the length of the rotary axis to meet our material end. Once it's on the end of our material, we'll tighten those knobs down, and we'll loosen the knob on top of the tailstock head. You can rotate the knurled tailstock by twisting it counterclockwise to meet the material, then tighten that knob back. Once everything is tightened, we'll go back to our chuck head and tighten down the material to make sure that everything is secured properly. Next, we'll move on to probing the rotary axis. Just like with the normal touch probe, we'll align the bit with the center over the probe, then plug in our banana plug to the probe. When your rotary axis is enabled, you'll see there is a rotary probing button. We'll click that. Make sure our bit is aligned with the circle on our probe. Then we'll touch our magnet to our probe to check for continuity. After doing so, the Start Probing button will turn green. We will attach our magnet to our collet nut and we can press Start Probing. On this page, we're going to select the bit diameter that we have loaded in our collet, then we'll press Next, and it will touch off of the top for Z twice, the right side to measure for X twice, and the back to measure for Y twice. Once probing is complete, you can remove the magnet from the collet nut. I like to leave it on one of the bolts on the rotary to make sure it stays out of the way of the bit while carving. From here, we're going to raise our Z-axis all the way to the top to avoid hitting our chuck head. Then we can move to our XY origin position, and we're ready to load a file and start carving.